We're going to start our work session here. Time is up. All right. The first thing we have on our work session is discussion of the Hermit's House, Sonny Brewer.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Brewer, you come up to the podium and let us know what you're talking about.
I will tell you.
Yes, sir.
So, I'm a storyteller, and in this bag are 9 of about 15 books that I have with my name on the spine. It occurred to me when I got here that the books I really should have brought were the ones that are left at Henry Stewart's Round House up in Montrose for visitors to sign. You know, Ken Niemeyer surprised me and told me a month ago that Henry Stewart's Round House is now the second most popular tourist site in the state. He said he gave y'all some show and tell. I don't know if he did or not, but it amazes me. I can take my iPhone and say, where's Tolstoy Park? And Mama Google will take me right there. You know, it's become something. When I'm a storyteller, and some stories are better than other stories. With those 15 books with my name on the spine, the one that's still working that has earned me some few $100,000 and still get a check, only one, The Poet of Tolstoy Park. Page and Pallet, I called him and said, how many of those books have you sold since it came out in '05? When Betty Jo Wolfe demanded that back in that day that everybody in town read the book. It was a whole community reads book because she loved the story, and had banners hanging off the side of the building, and even enlisted townspeople to actually read the book aloud over the course of 12 hours. Owen Bailey and everybody got involved in reading the thing. And then there I was at the book signing that inaugural night, that first night in Page and Pallet. And Granny, as we called her, Betty Jo Wolfe, who founded that bookstore there on the corner, I was sitting there and the line went out the door and around upstairs and downstairs, and I thought I was somebody. And Betty Jo came with the store phone and said, your wife's on the phone. And I said, tell her I'm busy. You know, this is my moment. Tell her I'm busy. And Betty Jo said, no, she wants to talk to you, and she said it's really important. So I said, okay. And I said, Diana, you know, and she said, Sonny, somebody's on the phone from Hollywood. I've checked him out. He seems real. He wants to buy the movie rights to The Poet of Tolstoy Park. And I said, yeah, right. And she said, no, I'm serious. And I said, well, get his name and number and I'll call him back. I called him back later, a couple hours later, and he said, I'm the producer who made Khan Potok's The Chosen, that novel, into that movie starring Maximilian Schell and Rod Steiger and all those people that you don't remember. And somebody from your town came here with a book in her bag, and she had stopped at Page and Pallet and bought it before it officially came out so she could read it on the plane. And he said she sat in my living room. She said, Roger, when are you going to make another movie? It's been a while. He said, when I find another book that moves me the way Khan Potok's novel The Chosen did. And he said she handed me this book with a nice red cover called The Poet of Tolstoy Park. I want to make that movie, sir. And so on the spot, pretty much, with my agent over the next few days, we sold, didn't option, but we sold the film rights to The Poet of Tolstoy Park. I got a 9% share in Fisheye Filmworks and Little Big House Productions. And then the money started going out. Who's going to write the screenplay? And I said, I will. And they said, no, not you. We want somebody real. So they got Tom Epperson, who is Billy Bob Thornton's screenwriting partner, to do the adaptation of the novel. And he called me up and he said, "Do you have any requirements of me? I've got your book." And I said, "Yes, I do. I want you to come to town." He said, "I live in Culver City. Who's going to get me there?" I said, "I want you to come to town. Somebody can pay the way." And they did. And they brought Tom Epperson here, and we put him up in the Betty Jo Wolfe Writer's Cottage. And I said, "You got to eat some of our seafood. You got to watch the sunset over there. You can do an adaptation sitting in your living room in Culver City, but it won't be the same one you'll do if you'll come to town." So he came to town and told me that the Betty Jo Wolfe Writer's Cottage is haunted. But he did the adaptation, was paid his $125,000 and $25,000 for his Screenwriters Guild dues that year. Did that work in 3 weeks, got that pay. And so it's gone on along, and then Jeremy Kagan from Sundance got involved in it, and things looked like the movie was just going to happen. I mean, from the initial consideration there at at the inaugural signing, that this movie's going to get made, but it hasn't yet. But I know that the producing partners, with my 9% share, I'm allowed to look somewhere north of $300,000 of their good money they've spent to make the movie The Poet of Tolstoy part. And every now and then somebody will come up like Robert Duvall. "I want to be Henry Stewart." And then they said, "No, you're not kissable." He has a crush on a younger woman, and nobody wants to see you pucker up and kiss somebody. So Robert Duvall was, and what was that guy in Pretty Woman, that actor?
Richard Gere.
Yeah, Richard Gere wanted to be Henry Stewart. So it's gone along. It's stumbled along since '05, and all that money has been spent, but the movie has not yet been made. I think it will, and I may be disappeared from view here.
I think that Lisa and the mayor want to play that young woman if you get Richard Gere to play the lead actor.
I was talking to Sherry about that just when we walked in, but I think that the movie will be made. Those producing partners have no chance at all of getting their money back unless they make that movie. I think it'll be made. And that caused me to catch up with Ken Niemeyer about 6 or 7 months ago. Somebody put the bug in my ear, and I went to see Ken, met him at coffee shop. And I said, "Let me ask you a question. How confident are you, Ken Niemeyer, who owns that whole 10 acres up there now, how confident are you that 20 years from now, when you and I are both disappeared from view here, the round house will still survive, even though thousands of visitors come?" If you could look, I should have brought those books. You see people from Norway, from Germany, from Italy, from Robertsdale, from all over, just, 10, 12, 15 a day. It's amazing. I should have brought those books, but I said to Ken, how confident are you that it'll remain for people to continue to come and see? And I know that it's not like the Leaning Tower of Pisa in that Italian town, but it's a thing here in Fairhope, and it's a Fairhope story. And Ken said, "I have zero confidence, none at all. My heirs and assigns will not care one thing about that building that I saved about 50 years ago." And I argued with my partners then. Carlton wanted to tear it down. Stark and Charlie Earl, they all wanted it torn down. It's going to be too close to those little buildings we want to put right there, those office buildings. Ken said, "I saved it 50 years ago, but I don't think it'll last." He said, "Because when I'm dead, nobody will really care. You'll be dead. Nobody's really going to care." So, and I said, "That's kind of what I thought. So would you give me that building?" He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Just what I said. I mean, will you give it to me subject to me moving it?" He said, "Are you buying my coffee?" I said, "Yeah, I'll buy your coffee." I went and got him a cup of coffee, and I sat back down, and he said, "Under the circumstances, subject to moving it, yes, I will make a conveyance that you can move it." So then I began to run my mouth all over town about let's save it, because I really want it to be here. Why would I care when I'm out spinning around Saturn? I don't know, but I will care. One of my books, The Widow and the Tree, that was the Alabama Novel of the Year in 2012, is about the Inspiration Oak. It's not there anymore. And it made a good story that it had been torn down. And, and so the thing about it, council members and the mayor and this particular administration, it is a good story. And whether y'all like it or not, you're in it. You know what I mean? So imagine the movie gets made, and I think it will, and then you come to that last shot, and it goes to black, and there's an epilogue comes up, written up there, and it says, Henry Stewart's round house stood on its site for 104 years. Now there's a branch bank there. You know what I mean? That's one kind of story ending, and that works. I mean, that works. Rick Bragg called me on the way here, and he said, Sonny, you're enough of a storyteller to know it might be a better story if they do tear it down. There'll be some hell raised. There might be somebody carrying signs or something like that, and it'll make a good story. But I'd rather just see it picked up and moved to town someplace. And that's for y'all to consider. And my enthusiasm, last a year ago, and I was talking about I was going to go around. I would dress up like Henry Stewart. I would let my whiskers get real long, and I would start begging. I would have a begging cup on the street corner up there, and I'd go up to I'd call all my friends in the TV business and say, he's crazier than the guy who built the house. Look at him. He's trying to get money to save the thing. But then last Thanksgiving, I spent in the hospital. John Boyer took my heart out and played around with it a little bit and fixed it up, put it back in. And I went to see the mayor after that, and I said, all the things that I wanted to do to save it, I literally and figuratively don't have the heart to do it anymore. I want y'all to just do the best you can and consider saving it. What I hear, and I'm not sure, I didn't see the bid, though, was that a house mover said, I'll move it for $150,000. How will you do that? I'll put polyethylene on the interior, and I'll fill it full of expanding foam. Then I'll shrink wrap the exterior. That's going to make it nice and tight. We're going to dig under it, put 2 beams under it, lift it. My truck will come in from the north side, put it on it, and it's only 13 feet wide and 13 feet tall. Where do you want it? I'll put it there. And incidentals and things like that, wild guess, maybe another $50,000, couple $100,000 could get the job done, and it would be here for people to come. If, when the movie gets made, just ask the people at the visitor center how often they're directing people to that. And so when the movie gets made, and they continue to come because they don't know. I've been up there when somebody says, is this that place? We came all the way from Arkansas, and and nobody in town knows where it is. And I said, yes, this is that place. I would just hate for people to come from anywhere. And some have come from Europe to see and made a vacation of it. Not just like, let's go to Fairhope, see that house, run by and get some chicken McNuggets and go. They look the city up. They find that it's a great place to be. It's beautiful. There's some beautiful places, prettiest sunsets in the world, good food. Let's go and make a week long, and let's see that round house. And they come 7 years from now. No, I'm going to stay 13 more years. 14 years from now, and it's gone. It used to be there. We've got pictures of it. We've got a couple of blocks from the building, some artifacts, but there's a branch bank there now, or a shell station, or whatever. And, either way, so y'all are in the story, and it will be this administration and council, I think, that will, make the call, heads or tails. Thank you for your time, and I hope you will keep it. I said, keep the roundhouse around, and Ken Niemeyer said, don't say that. That sounds so stupid. But keep the roundhouse around.
Yes, sir.
And that's all I've got to say about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. I didn't know they were tearing the roundhouse down. Oh, okay.
I think his concern, Ken is saying he doesn't know what his heirs will do in the future, but he would expect they won't go to the same.
The concern is,
Yeah, because they don't
Relatively-
want the roundhouse even in the consideration. That's how he put it to me. He said, if somebody comes forward with an offer, they don't even want to talk about that roundhouse. You know, if the offer is $30 million, that doesn't need to be there to even, put any kind of a cloud on the
Right.
deal.
So, we're almost there, but we're not quite there with historic preservation. But even with Nancy Lewis's home, that was the issue, was we don't have a historic spot yet without being historic preservation.
what do you mean a
to move
historic
the home.
spot? To move it
So,
to?
yeah, to move it, because they'll
There's
pay.
12 spots in this town you can move
Yeah,
that
they
thing
will
to.
pay, but they will pay to move homes like that once you historicalize it. Like, you get tax credit, and they'll pay to move and all that kind of thing.
I don't think it's in the
So-
city limits, is it? Is it in the county?
It's not.
It's in the
It's in the
county.
county. Okay.
But it is on the National Register of
Yeah,
Historic
I was
Places.
Yeah.
gonna ask you, what
So-
kind of protections does that provide, though?
Well, you know,
Only if you have a system set up.
I asked Ken, could we get a preservation easement on it? And he said, if you'll get it on the National Register of Historic Places. I tried for 2 years, and I wasn't getting anywhere. I filled out the papers 3 different times. And then I saw John Sledge, and I said, John, how do I get this done? And he said, let me put a man with you who will write it and do it differently. And so he wrote the forms and sent them in to the National Park Service, who would make the decision. And they kept rejecting it, saying it's too odd. We don't know what it is. It's not like a home. It's not like the Biltmore. It's just, what is it? That's what they kept saying. And then Warren St. John, a reporter for the New York Times, and I had a gig together where I got that little blue bag, as a matter of fact, with my name monogrammed on it. I went first and told my story, and as I sat back down at the dais with him, he leaned over and he said, is that shit true? And I said, yeah, every word of it, about Henry Stewart, about the roundhouse and everything. And he said, I'm going back to New York and see if I can get my editors to send me back to Fairhope to write that story. Is that true? And I said, yeah, no, it's really real. It's there. You can see it. And so lo and behold, he calls me up and he said, my editors approved it. So on the front page of the Sunday Living section of the New York Times is the article about Henry Stewart and his roundhouse, about me, about the whole thing. And then the last paragraph said, and so far, the National Park Service has declined to issue National Register status. They find the building too odd. That was the end of the story. Within the week, I had it. Within the week, it was listed on the National Register of Historic Places. So it is there, and it has a county recognition similar to that, but neither of those two things save it. Offers no protection whatsoever. It can be torn down. It will just be upon this site once stood. You know, it may be by the restroom in the Shell station. It'll say, under your feet there used to be a little round house here, and here's a picture of it. But it won't be protected.
I could, like Councilman Boone said, I could think of a dozen places. The top two I'd think of would be the new Triangle Preserve, because it's the closest place to it, and was probably real similar to what that surrounding was when he lived in that, I would call it a home, when he lived in his home there. And, but secondly would be maybe No Park, because that's a longleaf, what's a remnant of a longleaf pine forest
You
as
could
well.
move one tree and put it behind the museum. I'd rather check that out.
Move one tree and put it where, I'm sorry?
Behind the museum.
Yeah, that could go there too.
You know, then the people.
A place to put, the only problem is the amount of money it takes.
Yeah, exactly.
You can generate
Like I
that
said,
money.
yeah, the
Move
Nancy
it
Lewis
tomorrow.
home was able to be moved as well, and we couldn't generate the $150,000 that it took to put it somewhere, or a place to put it. So, you know,
I can't believe it would cost that. I mean, I should believe it, but this is not a big, like, it's very unique, but it's not very big.
Well, one thing is 3 foot in the ground,
It costs.
Well,
and there's an oak tree, roughly 14 inches from the edge. About a 24-inch oak tree, 24 inches from the edge, so there's a few issues on how to get it out of the ground on that truck.
Without tearing it up.
Yeah.
And that the owner's worried about, they want to save the house, or they don't want to save the house, but they would save the tree.
Apparently.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say the owners, I should say potentially future inheritors of this may not want to save the house, but might want to save the tree.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that I guess we can continue to kick around, you know. Sounds like Booney's already been working on it, so we
Will
can.
do.
Let me say this, one more thing. One more thing, I promise. There's some rich folks in town, and there's a couple of people I know that could write a check for the whole thing, and they might. You know, they would, if it were put out there, like, I don't know if you call that pushing it out there or something like that. For instance, Beverly and Prentice Smith have asked me to come and speak to their, I don't know what it is, the women, whatever they are, just come and talk in January. Any one of those 12 or 13 women could write a check for the whole thing. And there are some people who might. I'm going to say one more thing. To that, there's a woman in this town, a husband and wife in this town, who were introduced to me, and she bought a house on her laptop. And I said, "Are you kidding? Like, I buy shoes from Amazon, but I can return them. You bought a house on your laptop?" "Yes, sir, I did." And she said, "And let me tell you, when I got to town, I went to that round house, and I looked to make sure there wasn't anybody this way or that way, and I rolled up my britches and I stood in the middle and I read the last chapter of your book, and I cried through the whole thing." She could write a check for it. I've not asked her. I've not, you know, I don't know what's going to go on at Beverly Smith's house in January, but, you know, I don't know. There's got to be a way to put it out there so that it's a doable deal, I would think. I don't know. We'll see.
Thank you,
Now,
Mr.
really,
Brewer.
shut up.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer.
I think some direction Sonny might need if he's willing to go and ask folks for donations, which we have received one donation so far to the city for the project from Mr. Niemeyer. But would the council be willing to find a location for it in one of our areas if he is willing to start raising funds to move it?
I would be certainly
I think
willing
it'd be easy to
to
find a place
find a
in the city
location.
for it.
If y'all would do that, I think I could say, "Give me money," and they would. People would, I don't know. But with a place, I don't want to ask for it and say, "I got to give it back to you," you know, because there's not a place to put it.
And Councilman Boone, I think, would graciously take on that project and help oversee the moving of it and everything, if the council would agree to find a location for
If
it.
3 of you at the same spot, we'll, 3 of us at the same spot, we'll start rolling.
All right.
So we have a general consensus?
Well, the other thing I'd like to mention.
Find a
that Sonny-
location.
Sonny
I
and
don't know about how
talked
much
about
money
was
I would-
Monroeville.
Spend on it.
Yeah, we're
No.
just, yeah.
No, we're not talking about spending money on it. We're just talking
Right,
about
just
designating a location.
Yeah, definitely.
Monroeville has a yearly deal on To Kill a Mockingbird, a play every year. And he and I were talking about, he's talked with some of the artists of the town, that they would like to put a play on here and have the same situation, a yearly play.
I have written that play.
Hmm.
In theater
I thought that was kind of a neat idea.
Sounds good. So, Booney, you taking that on
Not a problem.
for find a spot?
I'll have a place in 2 weeks for us to decide what to do with it.
Yeah. All right, committee updates. Brother Burrell?
No, the rec board is, looking forward to having a special called meeting with the council to discuss 5-year strategic plan. Airport Authority thanks the council and the mayor for loaning them the money to assist with building the terminal on the east side, and I think that's it.
All right.
Library board meets, I think, next week. I don't have, maybe not next week, but I don't have any report till they meet again.
Very good. Jake?
No update for me?
Booney?
Nothing.
Nothing. I don't have anything. All right, department head updates. Guys, if you have something on the agenda, please step up, or I can call you, however y'all want to do it. Hey, Chief,
Good evening.
evening.
I hope everybody had a quiet Thanksgiving holiday. We certainly did. We didn't go anywhere. Yeah, we stayed. I have items 9 and 10 tonight. Item 9 is we're requesting to surplus engine 911, which is a 1989 Hush truck, and sell it to Sandcut Volunteer Fire Department for $1.
Yes.
I'd be willing to answer any questions, and if I can't answer them, Tim Bung is also here to
So-
answer.
Yeah,
can-
Chief, so go ahead, Jack.
I can elaborate on that. I
Go
talked
ahead.
to Chief, and I know you spoke to the Chief today, and I also spoke to Tim at length today. And not only that, I Googled it and did a little research on it today because I knew that people would wonder, fire trucks cost $2 million. I mean, how much is this, what's the value of this truck? Does it run? Well, unfortunately, it's kind of sad, but these old trucks don't have much value. I went to one site that had them for sale, 89 and 90 E1 Hush pumper truck. It had quite a few less miles, which is not as important as the hours, and it had a whole lot less hours than ours did. And they were listed, one was listed for $12,500 and one was listed for about $24,000. So I thought, it's kind of pretty generous donation. But then you go, that's what they're asking. Then you go to Gov Deals to find out what they've sold for. And there was another one, municisomething.com. So I found 2 of them sold by governments. One of them sold for $2,000 something, and one of them sold for $5,000, I believe. So if you look at what they're bringing, about $5,000, you might could stretch it to $8,000, and so that seems like a pretty, in my opinion, somebody that thought, whoa, that's a big donation to give. It seems like a real reasonable donation to give a needy fire department.
About a
Yep.
trade for sausage, Connecticut County.
We can talk to them.
Yeah,
Definitely talk to them.
Party and trade.
Well, they got the patties now,
There you go.
Bacon, they got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, they got the patties now. It's really cool, but, yeah. But since we're doing it in kind, but, yeah, so that was pretty cool. I'm glad that we can help somebody, but it kind of caught my attention. I spoke on the radio this morning about it, and I had no idea, what what the age of the truck was, and so I kind of plead the fifth on that one. So I'm glad that now we have a better understanding about that. But it's always good to be able to help somebody, though. And we have 2 new trucks coming.
In the next couple of years, yes, sir.
Right, very good. Any other questions for the chief?
We're not going to wish we had this truck before.
I asked-
No,
those
sir,
trucks
we've
come
got a
in.
reserve, and
that.
Okay.
we'll be good.
Yeah, he said we have a reserve. I asked that question, and so we should be good. Anyway, and number 10, I guess number 10 is pretty straightforward, chief.
Yes, sir. It's a Lucas device, an automatic CPR machine.
Okay,
Yeah, it's straightforward.
all right, very good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One more thing there, Chief. Come back up
Yes, sir.
there for a minute. On December the 13th, is it December the 13th, the Wednesday night?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, December the 13th, since we're in a work session here, the Fairhope City Council will be celebrity bartending, I say that pretty loosely, the Fairhope Brewing Company, and all the tips that we raise will go to the Fairhope Volunteer Fire Department. And so if you're out there, if you're watching this online, please come out to Fairhope Brewing Company on Wednesday, December 13th, I believe 6 p.m., and raise a glass for the Fairhope Volunteer Fire Department.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it from all your support from everybody. Thank
That's
you.
right. Cheers. Very good. Thanks, Chief. All right. Anybody? Need to call you? Hannah? Hello. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. Good. How
to
are
see
you?
again.
All right. So, thought I'd run through a quick departmental update for y'all before I get into my resolution. We've got a number of positions currently posted where we're accepting applications. We have 2 vacancies for customer service representative, 2 vacancies for patrol officer. We've got the part-time snack bar attendant and full-time snack bar attendant posted, as well as the assistant public works director. In the background check pre-employment process, we've got the building and fire plans examiner, community outreach coordinator, fitness floor attendant, golf cart attendant, and rec center custodian. And then also a number of positions which are currently going through interviews with hiring managers include the nature park ranger, mechanic clerk, software support engineer, substation meter tech, and youth sports program coordinator. So that's what we've got going on in kind of our recruitment world. Couple of other things that we've got going on in our office. We're reviewing the employee handbook for potential policy updates. We had a number that were passed over the years, and so we've got some additional updates, so that'll be coming to y'all at some point in the future. We have biweekly orientation going on for all of our new employees. In the month of November, we brought on 23 new employees through orientation, so they've been busy with that. Tomorrow morning, we have an FMLA and workers' compensation and incident reporting training for public works supervisors and utilities supervisors. December 5th, we've got an initial call to discuss updates to the employee self-service portal. Also that week, we've got the utilities internship preparation meeting with all the other utility companies. So we'll start getting that program back off the ground again. And then December 8th is our employee Christmas luncheon at Oak Hollow. Also want to say thank you for approving the transfer of funds to purchase NeoGov. The HR staff is super excited about that, and I think our hiring managers will be happy with that too. In the safety world, just some quick numbers for y'all. Since 2022, this time last year, we have cut our claims cost by $291,000 and some change, and that is a reduction of 12.5%. And the incidents that we've had. And let's see, that's all I've got for our department update. Do you have any questions about that?
No, ma'am.
That's great.
Good job.
Okay.
Nice job.
Thank you. So on the agenda tonight, I have resolution, it is number 15 on the list. It is requesting that the council approve and adopt the recommendation to restructure within the Water and Wastewater Department, reclassify 1 wastewater plant operator 2, which is a grade 7, down to a wastewater operator trainee grade 4. The reason for that is that the operator 2 requires a significant number of certifications, and this way we can bring in somebody who might be a better fit for the culture and really invest in their development and help them get the certifications they need. So that is the reason for that request.
Very good. Very good, Ms. Hannah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Evening, Wes.
So first of all, I'd like to commend our department. We have gone through our auditing time of the year and done our state and federal audits for the year. So we are completely through, and with those findings, there were no findings. So our department is in good standings with the federal inspectors and also the state inspectors. So that's a lot of hard work from our department. So I'd just like to commend them publicly at this time. Also, I have resolution number 21. So that is to purchase the materials for Phase 1 of our cast iron replacement to the tune of $142,093.51. So that's the only item I have on the agenda for tonight. Yeah, so just a little heads up on kind of where we are with the game plan on this. So December 4th, shovels go in the ground. So it's going to affect a couple of different, Phase 1 is actually in two parts. There's a northern part and a southern part. We're going to start on White Avenue. We're trying to work in conjunction with a paving plan that Public Works has. So we're trying to finish up the White Avenue area. So our door knocking campaign is going on right now to speak directly with the people that it will directly affect. We've got some flyers that are going out. We've got some employees going door to door to talk and answer questions to kind of, to talk about this on the front end so we don't have to deal with it when there's issues. And then it will move up to Seacliff. And most of our work will be done in the right of way. There'll be minimal street closures. We're not anticipating street closures very much at all. So everything will be done in the right of way. And so our contractor's mobilizing on the 1st, and then work will begin on the 4th.
4th of December.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Next week.
Very good. Awesome.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Wes.
Good evening. And just to follow up on the discussion that y'all had about the roundhouse, I know Councilman Boone came to me and kind of posed the question, could it be moved? And that is definitely not an area of expertise that I have. But I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a very large company called Barnhart Rigging and Cranes, or Cranes and Rigging, and they actually have a office here, and I happen to be very good friends with one of the engineers there, and Barnhart's an interesting company. They're the company that moves things that no one else can move, and doesn't matter how big or how difficult or whatever. And they're interesting in the sense is they're owned by a charitable trust. They don't have stockholders, anything like that, and then they take their profits and do community good work. And I asked my friend for a favor to look at it and make some discussions, and that's definitely something that can be done, but they're the kind of company that if they give a proposal, they're going to guarantee that it's going to be moved and it's going to be in pristine condition wherever it gets moved to. And one thought I would give you is if we had an ideal location, there's no cost to us as a city to ask for proposals to engineer and move a structure from one place to another so that we would have an idea what that cost would be. And that's definitely something that we could, as your staff, accommodate there. And it's kind of interesting, when Councilman Boone came to me, I knew of the place. I had seen the place, but I really didn't know about the place. So I did the old Google search, and I got kind of excited about it, even took my kids and wife up there after we ate dinner one night and signed the guest book and everything else. But one of the interesting things that I read, that apparently Mr. Stewart liked to walk down to the creek and take his bath on a regular basis. And I was thinking, kind of like Councilman Burrell, was that if it just could hop across Vi Creek to the other side on the nature preserve there, it would be kind of fitting to how it was back in the time that Mr. Stewart lived there. But it is one of those quirky, fascinating things that we have, because here's this hut sitting in the middle of an office parking lot. It's only in Fairhope. But we'll be glad to work with that on well. As far as just kind of overall projects, probably the three that are in that final push and phase is, of course, the Gaston Plaza, which we did a pretty heavy lift to get it ready for lighting the trees. We do have some punch list items, and there's still some landscape and hardscape to be taken care of there, but that'll be getting knocked out. Arts Alley is kind of in that final phase. It seems to be dragging, but we're trying to pick up steam. And if you hadn't been out to the track and field, it is very much getting ready to be completed, and it's really looking good out there. As far as things that are kind of in the hopper right now, really, this past couple of weeks has been working with Parks and Recreation. Hopefully we will go to advertisement for the resurfacing of the cart paths at Quail Creek. That should start this week. We are working as quickly as possible to get the design completed for the new bathroom concession stand there at the northwest corner of the stadium that will not only support stadium operations, but support baseball operations. And we're hoping to have that out so that we can get that under construction and definitely be open and done before football season starts in August of '24. And then we've kind of started on preliminary work on the new expanded tennis courts and pickleball courts at the tennis center. So it's kind of that in conjunction, moving forward and getting everything in place for the downtown repaving on Section Street, and then we're going to jump to County Road 13. So y'all, it's wonderful to have a budget, but then budget begets work. As far as agenda items tonight, number 16 is probably the one that Mr. Martin probably, it predates him. We've been dealing with Southland Place ADA since 2019, and it's finally coming to a conclusion. And I will tell you, even though that's a great big number on awarding that bid, the budget, if you'll notice, was $1.5 million. Our engineer of record actually sent everything out to a third-party construction review firm to really get the tight number, and they came back at their estimate of probable cost was $1,250,000. And so it's kind of exciting that we have a bid that has opened at $1,032,297. To us, that's kind of a win, because it seems like everything we bring you is over budget or over estimate or whatever. So in this case, and we have a good contractor, so we're excited about that, and we do recommend awarding that. The conclusion of this project will hopefully get us lifted from the letter of finding from the DOJ and get that problem completely put to bed. Item 17, and I hope, President Martin, we're asking to pull that one. Basically, is that done? Okay. And you'll see it again probably next meeting. We have to clean up the list because there was an error that got caught late in it. And then item number 18 is approving the contract amount for Overstreet and Associates for the sidewalks on Parker Road. And we're excited to get moving on that project as well. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Council.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Richard. My other brother, Darryl.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I've got items 11, 12, and 13. Item 11 is to award Morrow Water Technologies to drill 8B and number 13 for new water wells for the water system.
So number 11 is the Morrow Water Technologies. That's well number 8. That's 2 wells, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. So I was concerned about the one bid that we had, but I've talked to Crab and talked to the mayor, and I haven't talked to you yet. But
Yep. So there was 2 bids that could not meet our timeline,
yeah,
and there was 1 no bid.
okay, yeah.
So
So
they-
actually, we had 3 people turn out.
Correct.
Actually, there was 2 that was interested, but then once we got into timeline, that one said that,
They couldn't
sorry,
meet it.
we want it, but we can't meet your timeline.
Correct.
Or the things that you have in the grant, as far as specificities that couldn't match the times.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yep.
So what did we do to make sure that we had a good market price here? Is there something did we do anything to make sure with the one bid that we were getting a good price here
We compared to previous bids. And
from what we had here in town
than what we have here.
and across the other towns as well, from what I
Correct.
understand?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a pretty good market. And then there's also about 700,000 less of that number, because there's 2 options in the grant that will actually reduce that price at the end of it.
Correct.
from what I understand. Is
Yep.
that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right.
What is it, what is this grant? What do you mean by a grant?
It's not the grant, it's
It's
the
not
bid.
grant.
He's
It's the,
the bid.
Bid, excuse
That's what
me.
he's referring
Competitive
to,
bid.
not the grant, the bid.
Competitive bid. I said grant, but competitive bid.
Yeah.
So you said you compared them, so they compared favorably to what we've paid for these in the past?
They were close.
Okay, because I mean, if you go down to the very last, what Mr. Johnson was talking about, they sent it to a construction review team, and they were really, really close. So, I mean, why don't we do this with $2.3 million? Is that just cost prohibitive to have someone evaluate that? I mean, I'm uncomfortable when we get one bid on a $2.3 million project, awarding that.
Well, we had
We've rejected them many, many times in the past.
well, we had two companies that couldn't meet our timeline, and the third one was just a no bid.
And then, did they give a number by any chance? They didn't get that far. Okay. That would have been good.
And the other thing, Krebs did evaluate this. They took it because we did have lengthy conversation about the fact that it was one bid. So what Krebs did was their engineers pulled like bids from other municipalities just to kind of make sure that it was competitive. And they did do that. They put that in their recommendation and their notes that they did pull those from other municipalities to make sure that we were close on the numbers because, again, we had lengthy conversation about the fact that council does not like to receive one bid, and we talked about who was at the pre-bid, and again, a lot of it boils down to the timeline. All of you know how many, housing units we have on the books coming in. We've said we want these wells done by May of this year. It's an aggressive timeline. We knew that when we put it in place, and again, that's going to exclude some folks, so we do want to make sure we're doing our due diligence, with the money, obviously, but again, they did go and pull like bids in other municipalities to make sure, all across the state, to make sure we're getting competitive numbers.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, I'd feel a lot more comfortable with pulling competitive bids on a like item than it is on what I call a theoretical analysis on what we hope might happen to do and try to assume what the price would be when we actually know that these light construction projects were of the same amount, roughly.
Yeah, I have no problems. I called Krebs today and talked to the engineers, and they explained this to me, and they did their due diligence, and I talked to Caleb extensively for about 30 minutes today about this, and so I feel comfortable with what they've done, considering that there's only one bid, so.
Mr. Council President, what was the other, I guess you said there was another option that we had at the end that would wind up saving us some.
So there's two
Substantial money,
options as far as how the geologist with the sand and how far
So,
we would dig, and the
right.
shell casing on the piping or on the encasing of the well. Those things may change, and they're assuming that with those changes that we would save $500,000 to $700,000.
From this number.
Correct.
Minus
Okay,
that
minus-
number.
okay.
If you look in their
Put that in there.
recommendation, that's one of the things that he said, because now they've been able to get together with the bidder and look at the materials. And if
geologist.
things change, they see anywhere from a $600,000 to $700,000 cost savings.
Yeah.
That will be reflected at the end of the project in a change order.
Gotcha, so we could be looking at 1.7 to 1.8 instead of
Correct.
2.3.
That's
Correct.
right. And I felt, yeah, so. All right, Mr. Darrell.
All right, item number 12, to execute an interconnection with Daphne Utilities, just an agreement. That project was done months ago.
Yeah, so I thought we did this once. This is some redefining some things in the contract.
This is establishing the pricing and basically making a reciprocal agreement, so Daphne can connect to ours if they need it, and we can connect to theirs.
Correct.
Okay, very good.
And any more questions about the interconnection?
On an interconnection, is there 2 meters going both ways, or?
No, so it's a bi-directional meter. So it's 1 meter, but it can measure
It can
one
go
way.
both
And
ways.
it can measure both ways.
I can deal with that.
Same job, just 1 meter.
Correct?
I got there, I said bi-directional meter, and I said, oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And item number 13 is to enter an agreement with Karis Product Distributor Albert and Blankley to, they're a sole source to buy our corrosion inhibitor from them for $175,000.
Okay. Yeah, that's just the budget
Correct.
inventory, right? Very good. All right, there, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. I've got item number 20. $7,875 for, it's a security audit on our firewall. They'll be coming down, evaluating all of our firewall rules and policies, and assisting me with an upgrade as well. This is budgeted, so it's on budget.
All right.
Any questions?
Now,
All
thanks,
right, well,
Jeff.
thank you.
Yeah, Chief.
Good evening. I had item number 7, where we're asking the council to rescind a bid for 4 new Tahoes, and then allow the city to solicit for informal bids on these vehicles, due to the fact that we have not received any bids at all. And Council President, I know you had some concerns about this, so I did talk to Aaron today, so I'll do my best to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, I just, I was just wondering why we didn't just rebid it, and we went to an informal process instead of rebidding it, but you and I talked, and, there's some things I think, Mayor, as far as our Fairhope site, whenever we read the green sheet and it says background check, and then it says, we sent it off to 419 emails, and 100 and such emails were seen. Well, those 419, I kept seeing it on every one, and I'm like, well, it's all the vendors. There's no particular direction. We need trucks right here, and the concrete guys don't need to know about the trucks. So I was just wondering if we could, to get bids, could we kind of home that in, I don't know what that looks like. I told Erin I was going to stop by there sometime this week just to see what it looks like. She tried to explain to me on the phone, but, she can't see nothing but the emails with the vendors. She can't see what market they're in, and so she just blasts this out, hoping that she catches a bunch with a wide web, a wide net, I just, and we keep getting 1 bid, 2 bids, 1 bid, and the whole part about the competitive bidding is to kind of decrease pricing. I know this has come up before, as far as decreasing our prices and having people push the prices lower. Really can't do that if you don't have a number of bidders,
Yeah, and I know Chief and I talked about this today. We've never really bid vehicles. We've tried it a couple times with trucks. I know that we've talked to the council about it some because we haven't been able to get them off the state bid the past several years, so we have to wait years to get them, literally years to get them. So we've talked about trying to do bid packages. The police vehicles are probably a little bit different than most of the trucks that we put out there because you are looking for a Tahoe with a police package, so that can be a little bit different. Obviously, the police package can be added after the fact. So I think that's some of the issues because these are specialized. And again, Tahoes are not on the state bid this year. It's a Ford product, not a Chevrolet product. So there's some nuances to this one that probably aren't specific to other bids we put out for vehicles. But again, this is our attempt to try, because they're not on the state bid, to try this bid option this time and see what happens.
Right, and I get it. What I'm saying is I think we were casting the net in the wrong direction. I think we can kind of sharpen our pencil a little bit if we're going to try it. Let's kind of get a little bit more detail of where we're pushing the information to as far as the market is concerned, to see if we can actually capture those particular bids. If we can, I get
Right.
it,
Yeah, we
but-
probably could do a little bit more due diligence on our side and maybe reach out to those dealerships and say, this bid's out there. And maybe that's what we're not doing. Maybe we're just putting it out as a
I
blanket.
agree, I think that's what has
Yeah,
to be done. If
yeah.
this is, and the other thing, and this is, Chief, you just happen to be standing, this is really
Yeah,
not
yeah,
even
this is not
directed
even-
at the police department, but
Right.
if we're sending out 421 email notifications for every bid that we're soliciting, it's kind of like church, man. I get so many emails, I don't even read them all because I get so many of them. And you start, if you're receiving these, don't tell the preacher I said it. So he may be watching.
Just send it to him.
But You know, you kind of become numb to all the City of Fairhope emails if you're getting, 4, 5, or 6, or 10 a day. I don't know how many that amounts to.
They're categorized, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
most of them are. I mean, you can check a lot of times, Jeff could probably tell me this. You can usually check what you want to get notifications, for like bids.
Yeah.
I don't know if it drills down to these specifically.
I don't know that it does because
So-
of Councilor Martin, when he looked at it today, he said that he saw that every one of these seemed to be going to 421 people. And so that's not coincidental, I don't think.
No, it's not, and I don't know the rhyme or reason. I didn't get to, sit down to kind of figure that out, but it just seeing it, it's just hoping, and there's really no purpose, direction, I think the point of it was to throw the widest net to see if we can catch as many people, but when we throw that net, we don't know how many car dealerships are in there. We don't know how many concrete people are in there. We don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think we got to get a little
Yeah.
bit more detailed oriented.
So,
You
so the
know.
Chevrolet dealership saying, I'm not interested in buying pipe or bidding on a sewer line or anything like that. So they get so many, they may get something that says, want you to bid on Tahoe. Well, they didn't even open it because it was from
That's
City
all.
of Fairhope, and they get 100 a day
You
from
could
it.
reach out to 5 close by Chevy
Yeah, I mean,
dealerships.
5,
and just go
10,
with that.
20 of them even.
And we can, with the process, if you approve this, we can do that at those steps.
Yeah.
Reach out to those dealerships individually.
Yeah, this would be the informal, but I was saying on our bidding part,
Right, on the
we can
bidding process,
kind
we
of,
can do that, but on
yeah,
the formal,
but,
you can't do that.
yes, informal, we can get 3 quotes. But I don't find, I don't mind us continuing on, as long as we talked about kind of changing the way we're kind of pushing out for bids in this particular situation. Being that I guess we know where the trucks are, we know who has the trucks, I don't mind them going forward. I just wanted us to tighten up for the next time we try to do a bidding process, that we can kind of tighten up and actually getting some bids in.
All right.
And not just having an empty net, that's all I was,
I can get with Aaron.
concerned about, And that's on every bid that we do with purchasing, not just you, Chief. It's because it's done with everybody, so, anyway, so, thanks,
Okay.
Chief.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Chief, did you have one more? You have to. And also 8 on the jail.
Yeah, Chester Nursing, Bay Nursing. Number 8. It's the contract renewal.
Okay, I don't know if you have any questions about that?
It's the same company we've been
It's the
using,
same one.
correct? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, same thing.
Okay.
I
Any
assume-
questions,
assume
Council?
you've been happy with them, if you're representing them again, right?
Correct.
Yeah. No problems.
No
Now,
problems.
that's a not to exceed, did we ever reach our budgeted amount last year?
I believe we were just a little over 11, so I don't think we quite we met that.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Good evening. I have item number 14, and this is with Jackson Thornton. And this is for us to have some additional meetings with them, that we're actually working with our financial advisors and the rate study, trying to get these, I guess, to get this right, to make sure we're looking at our rates correctly, comparing that to debt structure. Do you have any questions on that? That's just adding some additional scope to their original work.
So this is for rates and SDCs, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any questions, council? BP.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
So, started off, we had our pre-construction meeting, not last week, week before, last week, short week for the underground Magnolia project. So, tentative start date's gonna be January the 8th on that, and they are promising us they'll be finished by May. So, we're starting to get material in, so it's a good thing. EV chargers at Plantation Point, they're getting there. John's helped us out tremendous on that, so hopefully here within the next 2 weeks, we should have that project wrapped up.
Very good.
So it's going good. So I do have one resolution. It is,
Number
it's 19. So we still are having problems procuring transformers. We're lucky to we got 1 or 2 bids back, or quotes. So this is just going to allow us to go ahead and get some for inventory. Kim's actually helping us out right now. We're going to actually put the transformers back in to inventory items numbers. So this should help this process out too. And that way we can start keeping track how many we need to keep on hand every year. You know, we will never know how many to keep on for storms, but just for regular maintenance.
So, Ben, does SCADA do anything like that? Does SCADA help us with that at all? SCADA
I'm
system?
I'm sure Jeff has something he can take out of Munis and help
Okay.
on that. What we're doing right now, we're going back past 3 years and actually seeing how many we used. That way we can know what to keep in stock.
Okay.
But as that right now, they're not inventory item numbers. They just sit on the yard.
And we're getting different ones, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
saw you
they'll all be different KVA sizes.
25, 37, and 50,
Mm.
looks like.
Yep. So some of them are going to be pole mounts.
Yeah,
The cheaper
okay.
ones are the pole mounts.
Pads.
And the pad mounts. They're the ones that's the hardest to
To get,
procure. Yes, sir.
okay.
And then really on the bigger items, the 3-phase ones, it's all paid in the ATC cost. So once they come in, that's when I come in front of y'all and make sure they're paid for, and then we order them that way. And most of those have been remans right now.
Okay,
So on all the 3-phase.
all right, okay. So 250,000 is what we're looking to spend, and then how many we plan on getting with the 250? So many of these, each of ones I see here?
Each of those.
Okay, one of each?
No, sir. Just, and that's what we're going back past 3 years and actually seeing how many
So we
need
don't
to
know that
actually keep on
number.
hand.
We'll spend up to
Right.
250, I got you,
Right.
okay.
Some
Just clear.
configuration of that, those types.
Yeah,
would-
those are the ones that's most common.
Got you. Just want to be clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. All right.
Anything else?
Council President, I have a quick question for
Yes,
Dan.
sir.
What's the status of the Morphy Avenue substation?
It's good to go.
Is it running? Is it?
Mhm. Yeah, yes, sir.
It's online?
It's up.
Okay.
Been
We,
up.
Do we have the big 46 KV line loop installed
That's,
yet?
Aaron's not in here. I'll be coming before December 11th meeting and going ahead and trying to get weathered steel poles for that one. It's, that we're working with Stewart Engineering on that one. And it was gonna be one of those where we're gonna put everything out to bid. And he thinks it's in our best interest to do like we did the Morphy substations and all the distribution, buy all the material in-house. So we're gonna go ahead and try to start getting ahead of that curve and actually having it here. I would hope a couple more months we'll have that out to bid, the actual label part.
That's kind of the final piece of the puzzle, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is.
The Morphy substation's been online for
I'd say so, it is.
Yeah. It's the circuit that he's talking about.
It
I
is.
believe.
Now we're doing a lot in-house, moving gang switches around, moving some of the reclosers around to make it all make
But that,
sense.
you know, one of the reasons we located it there was the 46 KV line that we needed to,
Yes, sir.
to loop into, is the Fairhope Avenue substation, is it?
So
is it
so
getting
every.
dismantled, right?
No, sir, we're
That's
keeping,
gonna
we're
still
keeping
be in line?
Fairhope. We dismantled Church Street and Nichols.
Okay.
Both of them are ready to go. We're just waiting on a few other things to turn Church Street back over. And then the only substation we'll have that will not have a actual loop, it'll just be a radio feed, will be Valana. But we'll have enough capacity all the way around that we can swap them around.
All right,
So-
thank you.
All right, thank y'all.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you. All right. So who's, Mary, you gonna take care of the single tax property? You talk about that? Okay.
If y'all have any questions now, I'd be happy to. I think it's pretty straightforward.
On 22,
22 is the single tax
Yeah.
property,
I
yeah.
know that we'll have a full legal description in that purchase, but when it says base of the Fairhope Pier, that might
No, it's not
be a
base. Yeah.
little bit
Yeah.
nondescript for the general public. It's not the base of the pier. It's
It's
all the way
adjacent,
across
yeah.
the parking lot from the
It
base
is.
of the pier,
It's
right?
the base
Up
of the
against the
bluff.
bluff.
It's
the base of the bluff.
It's next door to the fire hall.
Yeah,
Yeah, adjacent to the fire hall.
so I don't know.
Does the resolution need to state that, or,
I think that document came from single tax, is that correct? Yeah. It was their legal description.
that's what I was saying, yeah, I guess
they call
the
that the
deed will
base?
look a little cleaner than that.
Yeah, yeah. And it would have a map attached to it with the location.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it should say the
Yes.
base of the bluff, not the actual.
I just
Yeah,
want people to
and
know
the-
we're not
yeah.
buying the land at the base of the pier.
No, we're not.
No, there is a PPIN number on there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let's see. And number 6, who has number 6 with Long Branch?
A Hunter.
Okay.
Number 5 is a public hearing, but if you have any questions, that's a pretty simple rezoning request. Number 6 is one of our standards. Long Branch has finally been final platted. We have the bonds and agreements to present to you tonight. So if approved, we will get the final bond within the next 30 days, and Mayor will execute. I think that's the way this is drawn up, and then that will start the 2-year bond period. Nothing really out of line on this one. Should be standard and ready to go. I think that was the only 2 I had on the agenda.
Okay.
Councilman Martin,
Yes, ma'am.
number 23 too, I have that one as well.
Yeah, that's what I
That's
said.
just to authorize to a utility connection agreement between the city of Fairhope and Cordy Cave Mitchell, which is the Planters Point Publix Retail Center at 181 and 104. And that's basically just deferring some cost that they'll pay it within a 6-month period.
Very good, with interest. All right, and 24, let's see. This is this is Paige, I guess. Would have that, that's simple.
Paige actually had a Christmas parade meeting at 6 o'clock, so that's probably where she is with all the drivers from the
No
Christmas
worries.
parade.
That's Paige, okay.
But this is pretty standard, we do it every year.
Yep, I got it. I think that's it, guys. Yep, I think that's it. The number, yep, 18. Yeah, 18 was spoken on. Yeah, Richard. And then 25 and 26 25 is an appointment of pedestrian bicycle committee. I think that's pretty straightforward. And someone has a problem with that, we'll talk about it. All right. What time is it, guys? All right, we'll come back in about 22 minutes.